Just okie dokie. Well, good morning formally all. Just to welcome you to the meeting, the start of the meeting. People are coming in, so we'll keep playing along for a couple of ticks to let people in. We've got quite a few things this morning to cover. And I'll go into the background of why we're doing the HR update when Fiona Neville is around, but she hasn't arrived as yet. We've also got Jade Stacey from NICE. NICE you all know, and hopefully you all sign up to their regular newsletter. And also we've got Ali Porteous with us from Skills for Care. And there's a huge amount of resource there to support you. And also I see that John Buttle has joined us, so we can get a few words in about training, and also using a Workforce Development Fund from Skills for Care, which we've got plenty of expertise in the room with us today. Why we're having a meeting around HR and employment law is partly because of the moves from HMRC, and they are looking at the social care sector as one where people are frequently exploited and frequently don't get the minimum wage. And organising your payroll can be a little complicated. Many people nowadays outsource it to make sure that it's done correctly. But HMRC are checking on quite a lot of people around the social care sector. And many local authorities are signed up to the London Living Wage. There is a move to encourage providers to pay the London Living Wage, which I guess many of you would think is very difficult with the rates that local authorities pay you. But you will see more about that. HMRC are working with two other bodies, the Board of Trade, or the Department for Trade and Industry as it now is, and also the Labour and Gangmasters Authority. Again, you may wonder why the Gangmasters Authority is involved, and that's partly because of the advent of so much international recruitment and also so much abuse of international recruits. We're frequently contacted now where people have taken on international recruits and cannot support them. They don't have the work for them and are looking to dispose of them in that sense. That's quite a difficult process. And it is your responsibility as an employer to look after those people. You've brought them in, you've guaranteed their wages, you're supposed to guarantee their employment. And the Home Office are getting a little upset about it, shall we say, and they're working quite closely with CQC. So if you've got a problem with international recruits, please talk to us confidentially, and we'll see what we can do. We've been contacted a couple of times in the last 2 days with people who've got international recruits they can't use, that they're looking to place somewhere else. So depending upon the license, if you've got a COS license, do talk to us and we'll see what we can do. But it is a slow process and it does involve money. The meeting, as you might have noticed, is being recorded, and the recording and the slide sets will be available through the website in the next few days. I'd like to move on to Flora. Hello, Flora.
She was just having trouble joining the meeting, so she's coming in now.
Oh, right, okay.
Sorry, she said to apologise.
Okay, no problem.
But yeah, she'll be here in a minute.
Okay. I saw the name flash up and then disappear.
Yeah, yeah, bless her. It's
Hi.
there she
Good
is.
morning,
Ah,
apologies.
Flora.
Good morning. Good morning. I can't get my camera to go on now. Technology this morning is not my friend. Let's see. So, apologies.
No problem.
Can you hear me okay though?
We can hear you. It's normally Teams that gives us problem, not Zoom.
I'm normally the opposite, I would say. So yeah, that's interesting. Now am I just going to be able to share my screen? Do you want
Yeah.
me to just check that works okay, or okay, I'll just make sure that it's working okay.
You could, of course, just be sitting in bed doing this.
That would the chances of even brush my hair.
Great stuff. All right, good. We have screen share.
Okay.
Okay.
And you see the okay.
Right. What we're not getting, Flora, is great sound from you.
We seem Can you hear me? Is that if I turn up my volume? Hold on. Let's see. Is that it?
It's not good.
You seem to have frozen. Right. I'm going to make sure my video is off because I think it's maybe so I'm gonna. Is that?
It's not very clear.
Oh, have you got me now, Peter?
I can hear you. Can people in general hear?
Come and go and hang on to see if there's something I. And everybody. It seems to be coming and going, though, doesn't it?
Yeah, there's a couple of people saying they've got no sound.
There's okay.
Yeah.
Take a couple of maybe help. Let's see. Seems.
Do you want to log out and log back in and see if that comes in?
Now, Peter. If it does, I'll give you 1 minute. And
Charlotte, were you going to deliver something around Ucheck?
Yes, I was. So it's going to be towards the end of the slide, but I can certainly go through it now if you like.
Yeah, that would. Have you got the slides or?
I haven't got the slides,
Okay.
no, but it just explains who we are, essentially what we do. So I'm Charlotte. I'm from Ucheck. We're a pre-employment screening company, and we're part of the Citation group. We help clients like yourself, of course, do your pre-employment screening, so like DBS checks for your carers, nurses, healthcare assistants, things like that. Basically, being a Ucheck, being a Citation client, what we're offering for any Lcas members is a free, like a waived registration fee to join our service. So you can just log on and essentially just process your DBS checks at ease. And basically how it works is we offer this online platform where you can just log into and essentially just process your checks as and when you need. And we are also joining and integrating with the Atlas platform next year, so it will make it easier when you get onto Atlas. You can literally just log in, go on your applicant's profile and just click, I want to process a DBS check through it. There will be a lot more on the slide.
Yeah. Okay. I wonder. Ali.
Hello.
As we're struggling to get Flora to come through the system, shall we swap round? Do you want to do your piece and then we'll bring Flora back in?
I'm happy to do that if that works with the group. Yes.
Let's go.
Okay, no problem. Give me a moment. I hadn't quite got my slides up together. I am quite interesting. How many people are, how do most people do DBS? Can you put a little bit in the chat to let us know? Because it's quite interesting at the moment to see how people do their DBS.
Yeah, absolutely. So a lot of companies, they use umbrella bodies like ourselves, essentially just to have that online platform to be able to log in and just do it themselves, so they're not having to rely on anyone else or any other company to do it.
Yeah.
But I can certainly pop in a demonstration video into the chat just so it's there, just so you can have a look at exactly how and
Indeed.
when.
I'm also interested to know what our members are using. They're using an umbrella body with ours. Thank you. That's really useful. It's interesting to know how people do DBS, because it can be quite a challenging product, particularly for some of our smaller people. So I'm going to share my screen now, if that's all right, folks. Okay.
Yeah. Sorry about the cat.
Come on, can you see that?
Yep.
Oh, marvelous. Good. It's supposed to run from the beginning, but it obviously isn't going to do that for me. So I am going to just very quickly go through some slides with you. Now, see the cat going everywhere. It's great, isn't it? So we have a variety of different things going on. For those of you that aren't familiar with Skills for Care, one, I'm very disappointed. But two, more importantly, let me tell you a little bit about us. We are here for you. I've been in post now for 6 months. Crikey, time does move on quickly, doesn't it? I've been in post for 6 months, and during that time I've managed to speak to some of you, but I would like to speak to more of you about how we can help. We are a resource that is particularly there looking at registered managers and the skills that they need to be able to do their job effectively. And what we offer is a variety of different support systems that can help. Not only are we involved with your registered managers meeting, and I do apologize if my voice is a little croaky, I've got a bit of a cough today, but we're also there to support through training opportunities and various other things. Many of you have heard of our workforce development funds, and I would hope that you are all using it in one way or another. If you need some assistance with that, do come to me and talk to me, because the training that you offer your staff is vital, not only in how you retain your staff, but how you sell your jobs when people come down the line to look at who they're going to work for. And in today's world, I think we've got to look like good employers. So let me just tell you a little bit about some of the things that we've got going on. We've got the Managers Conference coming up very, very soon. Now, this is quite a large conference, and I would say that it's a long way away, but on the other hand, we've got a lot of different things that will come out for that. So if you're not able to attend, I'll bring an overview as to what's going on in that conference and what sort of things that we're going to be talking about. And obviously, recruitment and retention is going to be key there, and part of that's going to be the international area. at the moment, one of the things that we're really keen on, and I'm sure many of you are facing, and I think it's quite interesting when you talk about Atlas tying in with Ucheck, that we are looking at a much more technology-driven environment. So one of the things that we want to do with that is to help everybody get a real handle on digitalization. And it's not just you as managers or leaders within your environment, but it's also your staff who need that support. So we've got some great small digitalized training that you can claim back through WDF, so it doesn't cost you any money to deliver this. But I would say that digital confidence is going to be one of those big areas that CQC are going to be looking at over the next year. One of the other programs that we're offering at the moment to people who are coming from different backgrounds is the opportunity to see how they can develop their skills. And I would say that if you've got anybody who seems to have a lot of skills but lacks in confidence because they may be new to the country or need a little bit more support, this is a wonderful opportunity to get involved in the programs that are available to help people gain the strengths that they need to develop the skills they have in the future. Now, part of that is also you digitally leading those environments. So please don't forget about yourself. And if you want some more assistance in regards to your own digital skills, we've got some great digitalized programs coming along the line at the moment. Oh, who isn't scared about CQC? Who isn't wondering what on earth they're doing and how they're doing it? We've got, again, I get regular updates in regards to some of the challenges that CQC are having, as much as the challenges we're having understanding how this new single assessment framework is going to work and how it can impact our work day to day. So please do take a look. Again, I'm happy to talk through any of these areas to just have a chat about how you as a group can really develop some of the skills that you've got within your environments and also tell people about them. The biggest problem we have is we don't shout enough about what we can and can't do. And so obviously we want to make sure that the registered manager events are there. If you've got colleagues who haven't attended to one of our registered managers events, you can either get hold of myself or Peter, or if they'd like to come along and understand why they're going to be beneficial to you in the future. And we hope all our meetings are beneficial, but also the resources that we have really do help to unlock a workforce to give them the skills they need. Part of what we're doing, and I talk about this regularly, is understanding the environment. I think in today's world, as a business person myself, if I don't understand the environment I'm delivering to, how on earth can I understand what I've got to deliver? So I would say that one of the key things that we have done, and I as an ex-registered manager myself, used to use the summaries a lot to understand what I was offering when I was looking to recruit and the skills that were needed locally. Our database is hugely impacting. It was quoted today in 3 newspapers. So we have really important information that's there that doesn't only impact the government, but also can make a big difference to you in understanding the environment that you're going through. And that does mean the sector insight, what it's looking at. I'm not going to sort of spend too long on some of these pieces because I know we've got a lot to get through today. So I will whisk through the next bit, which is the information for you guys, but these folders, sorry, this presentation will be available. I'll send it on.
Ali, I've only
Hello.
seen one slide. Are you
Is
moving?
it not moving? I am moving through an awful lot of slides. Is it not coming through?
Got a different slide now.
What are you looking at now? Oh, I
Improve.
see. Okay, I see what's happening. My computer is doing all sorts of strange things to me at the moment. I'm sorry, you've now lost everything, haven't you? Okay, so what you're seeing, improving digitalization. I don't quite know. Sorry, it's the 2-screen problem that I have. Here we go. We're moving through now. I think I'm moving up. That was the moving up piece that I spoke to you about. Here we go. Is this making more sense to you now, Peter?
Okay, yep.
Oh, marvelous. I think I was looking at completely the wrong screen for moving things along. So talking about some of the things that we can offer you, we've got some really good webinars coming up. If you haven't listened to any of our online podcasts or webinars, you're missing out because they are awesome. Some of the things that my colleague Pia talks about in her podcasts are really strong, and they give the little tips that a lot of us are looking for through those blogs and articles side of things, and giving you real understanding on some of the queries that your staff will ask, but some of the queries that you yourself have about how that training can impact things, or how they can improve your services and how you can record pieces. Now, many of you know about your membership, and I hope you're all members of our organisation. Please do take a little look. There is some wonderful resources that you can get involved with if you become a member. And at £35, I would say that's probably a few coffees and a month's worth. But look at it as a membership if you haven't already joined us. We've got some really, really good exclusive webinars coming up for registered managers. Excuse me. Looking at how the auditing piece is going, and that's in conjunction with our quality compliance system of partners. Brilliant for being able to assess how compliant you are to your environment. And they've got some very, very strong pieces of work on their site that will also be able to help if you're looking for different information on how to be the best you can in your role. Deputy managers, I don't know about you, but my deputy managers always felt as if they weren't getting enough support. So what we're trying to do at the moment is develop a deputy managers support group. So if you could please reach out, tell your deputy managers about us if they don't know us already, but just get them involved because they are tomorrow's future and we need to support them in that process. So we've got a survey that's gone through that shows about some of the implications that has gone on, and I think it feeds back as to what the information about our deputy managers, how they feel about their work and how they feel valued. And it's really nice to see people feeling very positive about their roles, but we want to make sure that they've got those tools and the emotional resilience to be able to deal with what's going forward. Oh, don't you love this time of year? Talk about winter pressures. I'll talk about winter cough. One of the things that we offer everybody is obviously an advice line. It's a difficult time. Sometimes come Christmas, we can all feel very overloaded by the experiences of our work. So I would ask you just to think carefully about the support that you're getting. And don't be scared to call up sometimes and get a little bit of support from our advice lines, etc. In regards to training and recruitment, I've spoken about the Workforce Development Fund. If you're not claiming it, you are letting money just disappear. This is a great way of ensuring you can give people quality training and get money back for the training they receive. And that goes all the way up. It's not just small courses. We go all the way up to large courses and supporting level 5s if they're done within the right framework. And we've got also essential training. There are 3 packages available at the moment that are really helping out people, and they've been really popular. We haven't had much of a pickup down here, but I would say that these endorsed providers that we have really do offer some very, very positive training. And again, have a little look at our website, follow the link, spend 5 minutes looking at the programs that are available. Many of them don't have a cost associated. Some of them do, but as a member, you will get reductions and you will get considerations. So have a little look and think about your staff that are coming on board, but more importantly, think about the people who have been there for a while or who may support you in a more passive role. Are they getting the support they need? Do they feel included? Are they kept up to date with the information that is required? So I talked about some of the quick events. One of the things that David, our partner who deals with WDF, was talking about is a very quick win. And I think this is an example of a really quick win. A 35-minute digital piece doesn't take time out from your staff, but it does allow you to claim back on that module. And that brings money in to be able to think about how you've backfilled that staff and how you can support them to take their learning and to make it an impact in the work they do day to day. Now, there's introductory models again for your managers, and I would say look at these for not only you, but also for your deputy managers. They will be having the opportunity to join these courses, and again, they're fundable back. And I don't think any of those titles aren't things that we can all benefit from learning from. The induction standards is coming along more and more, and we really do need to know that managers are reaching these standards. And I would suggest that any of you who are looking to ensure that your feedback to CQC shows that you're up to date and that you're recognizing and parroting your skills against the requirements, have a little look at the standards. If it was me, I would probably be making a few notes about how those standards impact the work I do, so that when I talk to CQC and when I reflect on my own business work, I realize that I'm keeping in touch with what's modernly required of me. And that does lead to good and outstanding. I don't think any of us would say that's not what we're looking for. So the other thing that I think is really important, and I hope that some of you would recognize this, that we're getting an awful lot more requirements, particularly because of winter pressures and people coming out of hospitals, an awful lot more requirements for our staff to be looking at really quite clinical skills. And I think it's important that we recognise that within the development of our staff and talk about these delegated healthcare activity guideline principles, because so frequently we're lovely people. And when a district nurse says, oh, you can do that, our staff will often say, oh, yes, okay, because they're diligent, wonderful people who want to make the best outcomes for the people they care for. However, it may be outside of their remit. And I would honestly suggest all of you just have a little think about high clinical levels of requirements from your from the local primary care groups, and think about whether your delegated jobs are actually within that guideline principles, and make sure that you actually have the skills and your staff aren't put and yourself aren't put at risk of delivering services that actually you're not always contracted or competent to be able to do just because you're offering goodwill. So when you get this, do look at the delegated healthcare tasks if some of your clients require clinical lead. Peer-to-peer support is really important, and I would say, talking to a CQC inspector the other day, that we don't actually record enough of this and how impacting the peer support is. So think carefully about how you're recording those values and those support levels that are brought in by some of your more experienced members of staff, and how it impacts your day-to-day work, and more importantly, how you use those skills as a unique selling point. Tendering is always challenging, and I would say pointing out things like peer-to-peer support, clinical experience are really key to getting a good tender in. So positive culture toolkit. Now, all of these things that we've talked about leads towards a positive culture. If you have a well-led environment where the staff are recognised for their skills, supported where there might be risk, and helped to develop where they need to, you will have a positive culture. And that's something that we're really reflecting on that. So keep all the good comments. Make sure that you have those good comments collected. One of the things I've been amazed by Skills for Care is that they so frequently request me to talk about things that have been said positively. So I think it's important that we do that on the forefront and the front of our work as well, and get your staff to say when something's gone well, and record that as part of your cultural support for your staff. So we're also offering a really new values-based toolkit available at the moment. And as many of you do value-based recruitment, but if you want to know how to do that, not necessarily through having to attend a course and what have you, we can have a conversation about what you do now and how you can align that to a value-based recruitment process as you move forward. I know it's a big project, but little steps can be made at all times, and understanding what's important to you as an organisation is the first step. And I'd be really happy to talk to any of you about how you can bring those values to the front when you're looking for new staff and you're looking to keep your staff that you've got. So we've got the redesigning updates. These are coming on more and more. And again, I think that fits very much within the principles of your culture, your flexibility, and your staff's transformational ability. And that comes down to good leadership and recording of that good leadership. Happy to talk to any of you about how you can introduce that and how you can record that for your own company benefits. Now, we've obviously got integration frameworks with values of working with people from different backgrounds and different gender considerations. It's a big issue. It's not just for our staff. I would say we've got a lot of people who are now coming into the care, into our care environment, who want those considerations to be taken into account when care is delivered. So being on top of this and being aware of a variety of people's desires and backgrounds and putting that into a person-centered presentation makes a very, very big difference to the way you're perceived by your clients and staff. So curiosity about care is a new piece that's coming along. We've been working very closely about this and looking about why do people go into care, and we'll keep you up to date about that, but do have a little look at our section on the website. So I'm beginning to lose my voice now, so I'm going to whip through this a bit quicker. Supporting the development of leaderships. We've talked about this. Your leadership is key to everything nowadays, and more than happy to talk about how you guys who may have always used the words of manager can start using the words of leadership, because that's what you do every single day. And training to help support personal relationships fits within that format. So just whipping through, because we're going to be talking about international recruitment and support. We do have quite a lot on that already, but this is a changing thing. Other information, we have a new recruitment piece coming through from the government. We're trying to link in with that, but obviously doing more work on a local basis for you guys, because the Proud to Care London site is coming back up again, and that will help you with your vacancies, and they're tying into the national campaign as well. So I'm hoping that if I now stop sharing, I can see you all again. Hello again, I can see you all. I hope that was of use. Are there any questions on that? I have gone fairly quickly, I know, but I know there's a lot to cover. Complete and utter silence. Dudley, hello.
How you doing, Ali? I'm somewhere, so if I cut out, you may not be able to hear me properly. So if you can, I think
right.
a lot of there's a lot there to take on. I think a lot of people are unaware that you actually can use the resources in itself and print them off, download them, and they're very accessible. I would say if you are using the website, be specific of where you want to go. But also as well, I think finally, and the point you were raising, the WDF funding is really important. Actually accessing it is probably hugely important, because it does run out, and we want people to actually access funding. And the first thing that everyone asks any of us is, oh, there's funding available. So please, please, please do use it. Get in touch with us or Ali, and then we can sign and point you in the right direction. And then you can start accessing some of these wonderful courses, and you won't have to pay for them because they'll be funded, and claim the back. So
Claim them, most definitely. We've got quite a good little team down here in our area, and we're able to claim and do these things very well. We've just had some more money released from the main fund, so there is money there to be able to claim, and I really appreciate that, Dudley. I agree. The website can seem a little overwhelming, but one of the joys is I can also help you through it. I have sat where you have. I have tried to trawl my way through it on occasions, and we're always trying to cleanse, as they call it. I believe that's the digital word. We're always trying to cleanse and make sure it's up to date, but so much comes out so quickly. And I would sometimes say, if it's not up to date, that's okay. Some of the older stuff is just as relevant. But what I really want to say is that I am here, and I'm only of use to you if you use me. And I would hope that those of you that I do know that I've got a little bit of knowledge in regards to the system, and would try and always assist you to make the best of it. And this is from the point of view of growing your businesses, talking to the ICPs, talking to the local authorities, and making sure that we are the most outstanding area we can be for delivering care. Could I have your contact details? Yes, please have a question. I don't know where that's come from.
This workforce development, can it be used for PMVAs and things like that, which is a higher cost? You know, physical restraint training and so on and so forth.
We have a list of training and what it can be claimed for, and we have a very great contact who will be able to assist you with all the different training providers who offer different trainings. I don't know 100% what can and can't be claimed for, because the idea of me is, if I don't know, I know a man who does, and I do know a man who does. So what I'm going to do is put in the chat my contact details. What I'd like you to do is, please, if any of you have any direct questions, just to come to me. Was it Pfizer? Who was it who just spoke? Sorry.
Yeah, it's Pfizer SB.
It is you, Pfizer. Sorry.
PMVA, yeah. PMVA
Marvelous.
is a higher cost, but now is kind of a requirement for a lot of providers, and for our own staff safety, it's needed.
Indeed. And the thing is that if it's not something that is available on the listing at the moment, as we move into the next area, and I couldn't say whether it is or not, because unfortunately I'm not high on that area of each individual areas. But if it's not available, then we certainly can put it forward as something that is required by the industry for the next time round. So what I'm going to do is pop this into the chat now, put my details into the chat. Please do contact me with any specific questions. Pfizer, if you could send me an email in regards to that, I can get David to get back to you, and we can see whether there's funding available. And if not, I'll ask some of my colleagues and see whether there is anything available in any other little pot for you.
Thank you.
Thanks very much, Ali. Very useful.
Peter, so can I just suggest for a second? Also as well, the WDF funding can be used to help train international overseas staff as well. So please do recognise that as well, because there's not a lot of funding to support those from overseas. So it can be used as part of your workforce, and they are part of your workforce, so they can be added into that. So
yeah, exactly. It's one of the points.
So
One of the quick points I was going to make.
get so Peter.
Just going back to the point that Charlotte made about DBS, we are still finding social care providers that don't have DBS checks. They are a requirement. They are not something you can ignore or say, well, I've done something equivalent, because CQC will not accept that. So they must be done. That is one quick point. And John, Mr. Buttle, as John is here and is a training provider and uses an awful lot of WDF, any quick points from you, John?
Yeah, I mean, we do a lot of short courses with WDF, and I know that some of you are already customers of ours as well. We do most of it through Zoom. We do find that that works quite well for a lot of employers, because you can put as little or as many people through at any given time. We run every Thursday, Friday, and then following Monday, Tuesday, we do training for new care staff. That covers the level 2 medication RQF, and we use the funding from that to subsidise and pay for care certificate knowledge training. So they come away with the level 2 meds, care certificate knowledge, everything except basic life support, in 4 days of training plus a little bit of homework. And it's normally a 2-week turnaround in people starting the course and you getting a certificate for them. We also do very similar approach for level 2 dementia and level 2 autism awareness. And of course, as an endorsed Skills for Care provider, we do all of the management training as well, from the CPD modules through to the Lead to Succeed and the well-led courses. As long as you've got a WDF account, we don't charge anything up front for that, and we simply charge you the claim value when people complete. So you don't have any cash flow issues really, and as long as you're good with your ASC account, you should get the money from Skills for Care before you actually need to pay our invoice. We give you 40 days terms, which I think is pretty generous. But yeah, we've been doing that for years. We've trained thousands of new care trainers with that. We train people all across the country now, thanks to Zoom. So we have people from Somerset. We also have people from Zimbabwe and the Philippines and anywhere else really. So I'm going to put my contact details in the chat box, and please do get in touch if you'd like to know more.
Thank you very much, John. And we've rehashed the agenda, and Jade from NICE will come back later in the event, and hopefully Flora, we can now see Flora. Hopefully we can hear Flora as well.
Fingers crossed, and apologies for that, Peter. The joys of technology as ever.
Okay, well, the screen is yours.
I'll just share my screen. Thank you. Okay. Okay. I've got my video. It causing a problem. Is that better? Does that seem okay, Peter?
Yeah, that's fine.
Okay, can everybody see it? That's okay, perfect, okay. Okay, so we are going to talk about navigating through the employment law stuff, which I know can be tricky and a bit difficult. Today, we're going to talk about the onboarding new staff, how to get that right, the easiest thing to do. We are Citation, and I'm sure some of you, if not all of you, are aware of us. We are here to partner with yourselves to help you get it right is the key thing. And that's your employment law, your HR, your health and safety, all aspects of it, as you know. And it's giving you the support and the backup you need to make sure that you are getting it right is the absolute key thing. And the support there for you 24/7. Okay, so recruitment. To start off with then, as you know, it's getting the right people through the door. That is the absolute key thing, is getting the right people through the door and making sure that you get the right people in the first place, and then you keep the right people in your organisation is the absolute key thing. Advertising the role, make sure that where you're advertising, that the channels you're using are attracting the right people to the advert. Make sure then you've got, you know, you're given as much exposure as you possibly can to the different types of people, and thinking as well, you know, it's maybe not also the, you know, the obvious channels that have come before, in terms of that it's making sure that you know you've got the right channels to maybe different groups of people as well is the absolute key thing. Building your candidate profile, always making sure that your candidate profile is clear from the outset, so that people know who you're after, what you're looking for, all the rest of it. And don't forget as well, you've got employment law obligations. As your business grows and you've got more employees, then you need to be making sure, you know, you're obviously your obligations as an employer change as well. So, and depending on the type of employee you're hiring, you need to be as well as some of the more recent changes in employment law surrounding use of, say, for example, casual labour and the likes too. So the average turnover rate across all employment is 35%. 165,000 vacancies in the social care sector on a given day, which is huge. So I know everybody is, you know, trying their best out there to get people in the door and get the you know, good recruits in the door. So it is challenging and it's extremely expensive. So you don't want to be doing it on a regular basis. Making sure your person specification, your job specification, your candidate profile and your advert are all clear, concise. Make sure as well in your candidate profile, you know, you're putting in the skills that you desire, that you require, and making sure as well that, you know, what's a required skill, what's a desirable skill, making sure you make clear the job type, preferred background, any qualifications and accreditations that people require, and use at least 2 channels to advertise is what I would say. Don't forget about the Equality Act, as I'm sure you won't, but remember at any point it's against the law to discriminate against anyone on the grounds of protected characteristics. So it is essential your job descriptions and personal specifications don't unlawfully discriminate against any prospective candidate. So just always be mindful of that when you're you know, when you're putting together. Okay, so the interviews. Oops, Daisy decided to jump ahead of itself. Sorry, I don't know what it's doing here exactly. It's having a wee moment. It's going to go slow. Okay, so what was about to talk about there was the interviews. So it'll pop back up the screen in 1 second. I'm quite sure. Interviews, then making sure that what you've got is correct, and making sure you're doing your consistent is what I would say. Interview process, being for that interview, you know, you've got to be yourself.
There's a bit of a problem, Flora, because you're breaking up at times.
Yeah, it's quite bad, Flora.
Sure
maybe you may need to give a refresh.
Or hang on.
Yeah, you're breaking up a bit.
Flora seems to have dropped out.
It's the famous adage, Peter, never work with animals, children, and technology. So apologies, everyone. It does happen from time to time. But hopefully Flora will be back because there's some really insightful things around recruitment and obviously employment. And I think legally, especially with a lot of overseas workforce and other things, it's always important to have an update. So hopefully Flora comes back and
Yep.
things go well. But we'll be sharing the slides regardless, so you will get the slides. So don't worry about that. But
And I can also tell you that on the Lcas news page, there is a recording of the HMRC and Labour and Gangmasters Authority webinar. So if you want to go through that, please do. Flora was right.
Yep. Can you hear me now?
you are still slightly breaking up a bit, Flora.
I'm not sure why keeps playing up. I'm showing as if I've got great Wi-Fi. All right, okay. Let me see if there's anything else I can turn off. Is what I'm thinking. Okay. Can you hear me better now?
Yeah,
Is that
we
any
can hear
better?
you now. So hopefully once you share your slides,
Right.
hopefully we'll marry up as well. Fingers crossed.
Yeah. Charlotte, I'm wondering if you're able to share the slides. I wonder if that's the problem, is me sharing them.
Can you email the slides to me and I can share them?
Here. Okay. Yep. Can you see them now?
Not as yet.
They
No.
seem to come up at the interview. No. Is that it now?
No, but it also still sounds like there's a lag as well, Flora, with your
Okay.
speaking as well. So
Okay. Are you to share yours, maybe? I don't know if that's going to make any difference at all. Okay. Can you see the one now about interview, etc.?
No.
No.
No. Okay. So are you able to I can at least continue to talk to us to be able to have got them afterwards. Do you know what I mean? Does that make sense?
If you send
Sorry, you broke up.
yeah, if you just
you're
email
okay
the
to do
slides
that,
to me, Flora, I can then put them up.
Let me try.
Yeah.
Yeah, I've got them now. Let me
Okay.
try and share them as well.
Okay. Oh, let me just
or
make
if you
you.
want to come off.
Let me make you co-host so you can share. Okay, Charlotte, you've
I'll
got.
stop sharing.
Bear with me. Oh.
So sorry.
if you bear with us, everyone, we hopefully should get ourselves back on track. So
So sorry.
Yeah, and if you can hear me okay, I'll just continue to talk about interviewing things at the moment. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah.
it seems to be a lot better now. So
Right,
maybe
okay.
something to
It's maybe because I've stopped sharing for whatever reason, it doesn't like it. Anyway, as I was saying about interview, remember, it's conversation rather than interrogation. Competency-based questions, situational-based questions. Think about the question and, open-ended questions. Think about the information you want from that interview. What are you trying to achieve? What are you trying to find out? Now, again, you've got to be mindful of what you're asking, when you're asking, all the rest of it. But what I would say is, think very carefully about what you're trying to achieve from that specific interview and that person. Make sure you're making notes. Again, don't ever write anything about anybody you wouldn't want them to read about themselves, and make sure that it's a quality interview as opposed to just ticking the box and getting through that interview is what I would say. Other things to think about are advertising. Don't limit it, as I've said. Think about word of mouth. People will only, and our word of mouth free is the best advertising that you cannot buy, but you know, that's based on you being a really good employer and people wanting to recommend you as an employer. So make sure that that is exactly, you know, what you are. Don't just advertise pay. People are looking for other things other than pay. Obviously, it comes into it, but do make sure that there are other things to it as well. You're recruiting for attitudes and value. You can train people for skills. It's about bringing the right people in to have the right team and to build that team. If you bring the wrong person in, it can really upset the team and really change the dynamic, as we know, and that can be, you know, a real issue. Provide up-to-date employment documentation. Make sure it is up-to-date is the key thing as well. So job offers, remember to have your job offer in writing. Include that offer as conditional. There'll be a probationary period. You've got DBS checks and 2 satisfactory references will be required. So again, make sure you're communicating all the right information to someone and check up on those references. I know it's not something that always happens, but there is usually a reason why there is no response to a reference request. So, you know, and not always, but I would certainly just be mindful of that. Okay. What you can see at the moment is, I'm just double checking, Charlotte, is the one regarding contracts.
Yes, yeah.
Yes, fantastic.
Just let me know when you want to move to the next slide.
Fabulous, thanks. I just wanted to check what's in the right screen. What should you use? What should you have in your contracts? A question we get asked all the time. Well, various things, particularly now because of the good work plan being in place as well, which hopefully you're all aware of. If you're not, then please do ask about it, and we can talk to you about that. Things like probationary periods and notice periods, you will have told people in the past, I don't doubt. What you need to be clear about, though, is what you know, the information you're giving people. You now need to tell people not only what you that they're on a probationary period, but what the criteria is for passing that. And if they don't meet that criteria, what happens then? So you need to tell people that information. You need to give people the benefits that you provide, the training that's given, details of working arrangements, so the hours, flexibility, all the rest of it. So there's now legislation around and about this that there hasn't been. Well, this is now, the Good Work Plan came in 3 years ago in April of 2020, so it's not brand new. But you know, it's historically that information hasn't been there. So make sure that what you give people, the information, the contracts, and you know, actually just having contracts and terms and conditions in place is absolutely key. Make sure that you've got the right information there. You're giving that information to people, because that is your responsibility as an employer. It's making sure that what is there is what should be there, and you have an obligation to ensure that that is given to people. So please make sure that you do that. Also things like pensions, also your non-solicitation agreements, requirements to work outside of the UK if that's applicable, and the basics as well as of the remuneration and policies and procedures and grievance, disciplinary, those processes as well must all be given to people, and that must be in there. If you can pop that on the next slide, Charlotte, that'd be fantastic, thanks. Which is a bit more about contracts and handbooks. I'm assuming you'll have contracts in place. If you do not have contracts in place, please make sure that's something that you do very, very quickly. And also handbooks as well. You need to have the right policies in there to run your business, right down to things like equality, menopause, all these other policies now that you might need to be looking at and having in the business, because your handbook needs to move with the business, with the times, with the legislation, all these things. So please do remember, though, if you're changing anybody's contract in any way, that is it's a consultation process that you must go through. It's not just a case of changing it as and when. Handbook is slightly different, and that's why, again, it's important to have the right information in the right place. Now, Charlotte, I was also going to mention there on the previous slide about checks and all the rest of it. Do you want to just mention there as well about obviously the pre-employment checks and things?
Yeah, sure. So of course, being in a healthcare environment, it is a general legal requirement to have a disclosure barring service check, so a criminal record check, in order to be able to provide a certain level of healthcare to a service user. Of course, here at Ucheck, we help over 30,000 businesses provide that service to their colleagues and new employees to be able to process the DBS checks themselves. What we offer is basically an online platform where you can sign up under your own company name and log in and process your DBS checks as and when you need. We do also provide other services, so like digital identity checks, which is a new thing that's come out last year. And we do also do right to work and other things that probably wouldn't be needed, like adverse credit. But there's a variety of different things that you can utilize through the platform. For any Lcas members, we are offering a free waived registration fee, which is usually £58.80. There's no monthly, no yearly subscription charge or anything, and we are also offering a discounted rate for price per check. So enhanced DBS checks for you guys would be £45.20 per check, and for an enhanced plus adult first check for anyone just working with adults will be £53.60. If you did want to add in a digital ID check, it's only £3.80 per check, but that is completely optional. So if your new employees are bringing their ID documents into the office, then all you've got to do is just select on the drop down list saying that you've seen them. Our online platform, so our average turnaround time is up to 48 hours for a check to come back with a digital result. And with the digital result, you can get them into work that little bit quicker, as long as it's clear and as long as, of course, they're supervised until their certificate comes through, which is usually 5 to 7 working days after the digital result has come in. A good thing with us as well is you can actually track the applications on the platform. So you'll be able to see exactly what stage it's in, the day it went into each stage, and vice versa. We do also have a client support team that is dedicated to helping and supporting you with your questions, queries, if you're having trouble with an application, or you just got a general question about what is needed. Our client support team is available Monday to Friday, 8:30 till 5:30, and they're absolutely wonderful. They will help you out with anything you need. I have popped my details into the chat. It's a little bit further up, so when the video began. But if you have any questions, you can always just come to me directly. My email address is in there. And if you did want to register, you can either register online with the referral code that I popped in that message, or you can just come to me directly if you want to have a free demonstration or just have a couple of questions.
I'm just
Thanks,
not
Charlotte.
sure that we've actually flicked through all the slides. I've got slide 9, 10 now. So I'm not.
Yep. How are we for time? Because what I can do is talk round about some of them. I want to cover the flexible working, I think is important. So we can always jump
would
to
be,
that.
that would be,
Perfect. If you can jump to slide 15, then please, Charlotte, that would be fabulous, which is flexible working. Great. Okay. So I just want to talk about this because it does have an impact probably on everybody, I would say. What I would say is there's a number of changes coming in 2024, or 2023 and 2024. There's things going on in 2023. Flexible working is one of these. The Employment Relations Flexible Working Act 2023, along with other changes the government has already committed to, will make the right to flexible working a day one right for employees. So that's the first thing, is that you can employ somebody and on day one they can come in and they can ask for a flexible working request. So what do you do about that? And you need to be aware of that, and that they are possible, that it's possible that they can do it. They now have the right to request that from day one. They don't have to have that previous 26 weeks qualifying service. They will also be required, you will be required, to consult with your employees as a means of exploring the available options before rejecting a flexible working request. And I'll talk about rejecting those in a second. Employees will be able to make 2 flexible working requests in any 12-month period where they were previously restricted to just 1, and reducing employers' time to respond to requests from 3 months to down to 2 months. So remember that as well. And removing the requirement for employees to set out how the effects of their flexible working requests might be dealt with by their employer. So there is a variety of changes going on there. If you move on to the next one that talks about refusing a request. Now, what I would say about refusing a request is you absolutely can do it. There are 8 fair reasons for refusal. Everything is a justifiable business reason. It's not because you don't trust somebody, you don't think they deserve it, whatever the other reasons might be. It's a justifiable business reason. As you can see there, the right hand side gives you those reasons for refusal, and you'll get these slides, so you will have them.
We haven't got that slide on the screen.
Sorry, Charlotte, can you move that forward? So no, it's okay. There we go. So that's your 8 fair reasons there for refusal. And you can only turn down a flexible working request if you have a genuine business case. So if you, and it's a tricky one, this, because you're not going to be able to, accept everybody's request and grant everybody's request. But and the ones you are going to accept and take, that, just be mindful that that will also set a precedent, and it's also going to have an impact on the business. So just be mindful of that. If you decide to reject an employee's request, which you can, but you also must allow them the right to appeal, and your reasons for refusal have to come within these 8 reasons. So please, and again, there is a process to follow there, so make sure that you are following the process, you're making notes, all the rest of it. Those are the kind of things that are really, really key. Yeah. What I would also say is well-being is the other thing I just want to talk about briefly before I finish up, because I know we're taking up your time, but just to highlight that as well. Charlotte, if you can move to slide 21, please. It's well-being management. I don't doubt well-being and engagement. Engagement, again, huge thing. You need to be engaging with employees, and well-being is part of that as well. They go hand in hand, as I'm sure you know. People's stress levels at the moment are, in a lot of cases off the scale. They're overwhelmed, burnout, all the rest of it. These are things we're seeing day in and day out, unfortunately. Make sure you have well-being management in place. There is now an expectation of that. Again, it's part of your health and safety. You have health, safety and welfare responsibility for everyone in your environment. This is part of this. So look at what wellbeing tools you have in place. Do they work? Are they sufficient? Those are the kind of things you want to be looking at. Engage with your team and make sure that what you have there is what is needed. Yeah. And some of the things that you can do are really simple. Charlotte, if you can move on to the next slide, sorry. Wellbeing support and communication. Make sure you are providing support. What support do you have? Do you have an employee assistance program? If not, it certainly was something worth considering, because they are fantastic. How well do you communicate with your team? And what is your communication strategy? Because again, if people don't know, that causes anxiety and stress as well. There are a number of tools which I can show you just very quickly. The next slide, Charlotte, is Wellness Recovery Action Plan. This is a proactive tool, well worth doing with your team. It's a self-assessment, and it can help your employees develop an awareness of their working style, stress triggers, how to stay mentally healthy, and how work can help and support. So just make sure. It's also a good one to get a good understanding of your team. Asking people about what helps them, what helps them stay mentally healthy at work, what are the stress triggers, what support can we put in place to minimize triggers or help you manage the impact. So it's about keeping people in the workplace as opposed to waiting till the point they're overwhelmed and then trying to help them. So that's a really good proactive tool that I would recommend. The stress bucket on the next slide, Charlotte, there is a good one as well. You may be familiar with it. This is kind of at the point of somebody feeling overwhelmed. It's trying to break it down. What can I change? What can't I change and need to accept? And the idea is you're trying to remove some of the stress, or manage that for them and help them with that is the absolute key thing. Okay, next slide, Charlotte, is just a bit about Citation, about what and which I explained at the beginning. And the next slide after that, number 26, is our care specific services. So, for example, your care mock inspections, again, giving you a good indicator of your performance and preparation for the real thing. Obviously, your care policies and procedures, we help you put together those to guide the management of your care service by providing a complete set of policies and procedures, which are, you know, the key thing, having the right things in place. And CQC Pro is an online tool, keeps you prepared for whatever is going to be coming your way, I think, is the key thing. So Charlotte, the Ucheck one, I think, is next, if you want to just highlight anything else. I know you've covered a lot of it.
I think I've pretty much covered all of it, to be honest.
Yeah.
Again, if anyone has any questions, my email is in the chat. And if you do want to register, just pop me over an email or yeah, just sign up online. Easy peasy.
Thank you. Brilliant. Okay. Sorry, that was a bit of a whistle-stop tour. Sorry about the technology problems we've had today, but Peter will have all the information. If there's anything else you need at all, please don't hesitate to ask. And you know, make sure that somebody asked as well what an employee assistance program is. Just quickly, I'll explain what that is. An employee assistance program is an external service. So, for example, we use Bupa. We use it internally and externally for our clients and for ourselves. And what that is, so basically somebody comes to you and says, you know, I'm stressed, I've got alcohol issues, I've got, you know, relationship issues, whatever it might be. You're probably not qualified to deal with that. So you can then refer them on into your employee assistance program, where they get the expertise, the help, the, you know, information, the therapy, whatever else is needed. And it's a win-win, as you can imagine, from your employee point of view. It's a win-win from you as an employer's point of view as well. Because it hopefully prevents somebody going off long-term sick or, you know, out the job, and also they're getting the help and advice that they need. And from your point of view as well, from your duty of care as an employer, then it's a fantastic service. And if you do need more information, then by all means let us know, and we can certainly speak to you in more detail about it. No problem at all. Thank you.
I think if I could just add there about employee assistance programs, we've seen quite a number of local authorities, when they're issuing tenders or contracts, they put in there that the provider must have an employee assistance program. And social care providers are ticking the box to say, yes, they have one, when in fact they don't. And some of the local authorities are now checking up on this. And contracts have been rescinded or been paused whilst the provider sorts themselves out an employee assistance program. And the finding has been, where companies are using them, that they get better staff retention and less absences, etc. So they're worth a look and worth signing up for. Any other questions? Okay. I've had a question about on-call. If you could just pick up how on-call should be run, because some people seem to have been on-call for quite a long time, years, in fact.
Yeah. On-call, again, it depends what you've got in your contracts, and you need to be very, very clear about what you are, and that's right back to what I said, you know, earlier on about what's in your contracts. You need to, as part of that now, you need to be, you know, telling people details of working arrangements, hours, flexibility, all these kind of things. That is all within that, because you need to be making sure as well, you obviously you need to always be paying the minimum, the national minimum wage or above, if that's what you pay. Again, everybody is very different, but you need to be clear about the details of the working arrangements. Yeah, so that is part of that, to make sure that what you've got in there is clear, and also that not only is it clear, you need to be sticking to it as well, would be the key thing. I know sometimes there needs to be a little bit of flexibility or whatever else, but you can't just, you know, change people's working conditions as and when every day of the week it suits, is the reality of it. So on call is something that every individual should definitely be assessing right now. If you do nothing else on the back of today, assess what you have in there, assess what actually happens as well. The two have got to meet, because if it could be that actually you're not paying the minimum wage, and if you ever end up in a tribunal based on pay, believe you me, as an employer, you will lose, and you'll be paying back pay, and then they'll start looking at all sorts of other stuff as well. So I certainly would not be making, you know, to be messing around with that. You've got the flexible working stuff as well coming in just now. So again, that all ties in together as well. So I really think you need to look at it individually and look at every staff member, and, you know, make sure that you are compliant, because it is changing, and all these things, they intertwine into each other and could become quite difficult. And if you end up in a tribunal, ignorance is not a defence. I'm afraid you are expected to know, and you should be making sure that everybody is paid appropriately.
Correct.
Hopefully that's
So
a bit more.
And social care is an area where the HMRC keep finding that people aren't being paid appropriately. And as long as they keep finding it, it's easy to pick on, they will keep picking on it. Nobody likes hard work, let's face it. So they'll take the easy option.
And
Go on, sorry.
because of the Good Work Plan as well, we now have this status of worker. It's not just about self-employed employee. We now have this status of worker who have rights. They don't have the same amount of rights as an employee, but where all your casual, fixed term contract, 0 hours contract people all fall under that. But that is not that status is not recognised by HMRC, so it's completely different. And I do think it's caused a lot of confusion, because a lot of people think it is a tax thing. It's not. It's recognised under employment law, and it's about, you know, the conditions, the terms, the rights you have given to that worker, or that worker now has. You need to be mindful of that and make sure that everything falls into it. So it's a wee bit tricky.
Sorry, there was another point that someone asked me around how do what you've shown apply to the international workforce? Is it something similar, or there has to be some different documentation that's required for international employees?
In terms of contracts and things like that, or?
Yes, indeed, yeah.
Yep. I mean, if I'm assuming they are being employed in a UK organisation, so, you know, that are based in the UK. So it is the same UK law applies. The only real difference is where you've maybe got visas, permits, things like that, obviously. But again, you need to make sure the right to work checks are done appropriately, because that responsibility is on the employer. It's up to the employer to prevent illegal working. So it's very much back on you as the employer. And if for any reason there is illegal working, there's civil and criminal penalties, which are straight back at you, and they're significant. So make sure your right to work checks are absolutely 100% spot on. And obviously Charlotte's talked about all your other checks and DBS and all the rest of it as well. So that right to work and making sure everybody, all your boxes are ticked before somebody comes in the door is the key thing. But in terms of actual employment, and, you know, if they're being employed in the UK with a UK company, you need to give them the same rights as you would, you know, wherever they've, you know, previous role was or whatever. Then it doesn't matter.
Okay, I think someone's added in the box. Does this mean that contracts for overseas employees are amendable, for example, hours and pay rates? So I think
it's a difficult one to answer without knowing the details of that one. You need to have a contract in place. Now, if you have put a contract in place prior to, you know, there's a few different scenarios there, to be honest, and what you need to be making sure is that what the rights and the terms and everything you're giving somebody to work in your organisation, if that is based in the UK, is compliant, is what I would say. Without reading what you've got and the terms of that employment and all the rest of it, there are some, like everything, it can be a little bit different here and a little bit different. If it's something you want us to have a look at, let us know. We'll happily have a look at it with you, no problem at all, and say, yeah, that's absolutely fine, or actually, no, that's, but you need to make sure, again, if they're being employed in the UK, why there is no, you've got to always think, would the reason to give them different hours and different pay rates based on what they're doing, the same job they're doing in the UK with other people that have been here, maybe been there for a few years or whatever. But you need to just make sure that it's about fairness and consistency is the absolute key thing. You can't discriminate against somebody on all the grounds that all the protected characteristics, and you also can't exploit or take advantage of somebody either. And you just need to be careful you're not doing that on any level, because if not, it's going to cause you a problem.
I think you've done such a great job. I think
Hopefully that's helpful.
someone has said someone has said that would Citation be willing to do a one-off piece of work? So you've done that well. So Flora, well done to you.
Let's talk and see what we can do. But we're more than happy to have a discussion with you. We can explain what we can do, how it works, all the rest of it, and see if it works for you. Not a problem at all. Yep, more than happy to have a chat with you about it. No problems whatsoever. Patricia, if you want to just even pop in your email address, I'll get somebody and a contact number. I'll get somebody to come back to you today. No problem at all.
Are there any more questions around the contracts? And I think it's always funny when people are quiet, because as soon as you leave, we get 101 questions. So just to let you know,
you know
can
where
get
we are.
Okay, you can.
Peter, I think you
If
may
there's
be
any
on mute.
questions, am I on mute? Maybe.
No, you're not. I thought Peter was maybe.
Oh, Peter is okay. So yeah, if anyone does want to leave any questions or ask any questions afterwards, we will forward them to Flora and the team, and they can come back to us, and hopefully we can get in touch. And I'm sure in the new year we'll probably be getting an update with the many moving parts that are happening at the moment in our sector. So yeah,
There's a lot.
there's
Okay, many thanks, Flora. And if we can move on to Jade from NICE, please.
Hi, yes.
Oh, hello, Jade. Hi
Hello.
there.
Hiya.
I've made you co-host so that you can share some slides if you wish.
I have no slides to share. I'm hoping to pick your brains, everybody.
Oh, right. Fire away.
So, hi, everybody. Thank you so much for letting me gate crash your meeting today. I was hoping just to take a few minutes. So, as you probably all already know, NICE is the National Institute for Health and Social Care. We produce evidence-based guidelines on a range of health and social care topics. I think we know that we're better known in the health sector than we are in the social care, although our statutory responsibility is the same for both areas. So one of our aims for the rest of this year and the first quarter of next year is to really develop a guiding set of principles of what we can offer the social care sector. These principles are really important as they're going to be the framework for all of our work. So that's how we'll decide what guidelines for social care that we're going to develop, what we're going to continue to do, and it will allow people who sort of work in the system again to know what NICE is doing. So we've been tasked very quickly over the next couple of weeks to really get as many views as possible on what it is that NICE can offer social care. And so I've really come today to see if anybody has any ideas. So I'd really keen to find out, A, what impact NICE has had, what's been the most beneficial thing that you use from NICE, B, what unique value NICE might add in social care, is there anything that we do that you don't think we should be doing, and what would be the most useful thing for us to do. So I'll pop those questions into the chat just because I know that I've wobbled on. But yeah, if anybody uses NICE, has any views on our work within social care, I'd be really, really grateful to hear any ideas you might have. There's no right or wrong answers. We're really trying to get the biggest range of voices as possible.
I mean, one thing I would say is that NICE has always been in the background. I think people sometimes have a mixture of NICE, Sky, and Skills for Care. I think it would be good to just remind people, actually, which you've just given us some of it, of more in things that you do, and actually the website, what they can find on your website. I know there's various videos and various things that are involved there, which I've seen. So just actually remind people actually what NICE does and what you can do when you come to the website, and navigate it as well would be good.
So it's about sort of
For NICE
sorry,
to
carry on.
do one thing could be difficult. However, I'll suggest, could you work with other organizations who are responsible for care, regulatory body, CQC, NHS England, and others? Because sometimes they just bombard us with changes, legislation, and they want it done by yesterday or even before.
Yeah.
When I got assessed for CQC registration, I was asked questions as if I was doing it. And I kept saying, I just wish to remind you that we are not registered and we are not providing any regulatory activities yet. But did they listen? No. The list was to assess us against the criteria of a provider. No possibilities, probabilities. Similarly, this happens a lot with all the regulatory bodies, which is everybody working in their silos and everybody expecting theirs to be done as well as, that's it kind of stuff. So if you could talk to them, would be very helpful, and come up with a coherent one voice for all of us, and also promote the good work we do. Innovation always comes from small independent providers. We are the one who innovate. We are the one who kind of make the market and set the pace. If it was appreciated, it will be very helpful and good.
I think, Faiza, if I could make a point here, we work with CQC and we regularly meet them. And one of the points they make to us is that they try to pick up information from small to medium-sized enterprises across social care, but they really struggle to get responses to surveys, etc. And I think this may well be the same for NICE. We've sent out surveys on behalf of say CQC, etc. previously, and had very, very little response. We've also tried, CQC tried hard to get people to complain and make points about inspections, and they got very little. I know that people are concerned or worried about dealing with regulatory bodies, but the likes of CQC, Skills for Care, NICE, they provide a huge amount of information, and they can only focus that on the sector if they get information from the sector. And that's it's the sort of thing that Jade's really looking for. And in that sense, there are silos, but they do work together. I mean, we see this at various meetings. We see CQC appearing at, say, a NICE meeting, or NICE appearing at a CQC meeting. But there are, I think I'm right in saying, there's about 30,000 CQC registered organisations in the UK. I could be wrong. And so it's quite difficult to try and get something that works for all of them. But there are opportunities, with NICE here and also with CQC. So please do take them. CQC have got a portal that you can comment on a very regular basis. So please attack that.
Definitely. But Peter, if I was, as an employer, if I was to say, oh, you know what, my staff is not engaging with me, therefore I cannot really do anything about their well-being, betterment, career progression, so on and so forth, would the regulatory bodies buy it?
Well, I think as a manager, it's down to
so
you.
This is, what I'm saying is they need to look at why people are not engaging. Yeah, why organizations are not engaging, as I would be told as an employer, that why are your staff not engaging? Have you looked at the reason? Have you done this? Have you done that? Have you done this? Have you done that? Just because they are governmental regulatory bodies with a lot of authority over our economic well-being and our businesses, this rule must apply to them as well.
So
I think that's
suppose
right,
from-
but I think there's a lot of social care providers work to get a relationship going with their local CQC inspector, and that's a route of feeding back. We've had CQC to meetings on a regular basis, and people sit in the room and say nothing. We always get people say they want us to get CQC at a meeting, so we do that. They're very good about coming, and then people don't say anything. And back to the surveys and the portal, you know, there was one national survey that CQC did, and I think they got something like 24 responses from across the country. And that's no way to actually build their views. I mean, if you want to talk to CQC, then I'll make a point directly to them, then send it to us and we can pass them on. They've got, you know, addresses on the portal that you can use, or talk to your local CQC inspector, and ask them to raise it with the area people, which they will do, because again, we talk to those good people, and you know, they're trying. They've got an awful lot of problems to sort out, and one of the problems, I guess, with the SME sector is the turnover of SMEs, particularly in the dom care sector of social care, is very high, particularly in London. So that's an area of concern. We've wandered somewhat off the point. So Jade, what else can we do for you? What else can we send out?
Well, I suppose there's a couple of things there that you're saying. So firstly, NICE isn't a regulatory body. So actually we don't have any role in assessing you, regulating you, funding you. We provide guidance to help you have better outcomes for the people that you're supporting, to help the practice that you offer to be better. But it doesn't work if you can't find what we're saying. So I get that point. So maybe one of the things I can take back is about access. And it's actually maybe what you need to make NICE more useful is to make it easier for you to find what you need to find, which is something that we get told all the time. In terms of going forward, social care is huge. It doesn't have the same level of political interest, let's say, as healthcare does. And NICE, you know, we have to make our guidelines based on what the Department of Health and Social Care tell us to make our guidelines on. But we have influence over that and can talk to them, but we can only tell them what people need if we know what people need. And so from sort of a dom care point of view, if you were able to say to us, actually, we find the guideline on managing medicines really useful, that's good feedback. Or if you say, we need more support on a guideline, I don't know, for example, on falls or on care in the community or whatever it might be, rehabilitation, so that we can then go back and say, we're hearing this a lot over and over again, that we need guidelines on this. So I suppose it's about how we get your voice louder to NICE, so that we can work together to make sure that what we're producing essentially makes a difference to the people you're trying to support, because that's the aim at the end of the day, really.
Yeah, can I also add in very quickly? We were part of a work that we did with South East London, and it was a portal. What you find is we had to almost translate the language that was very NHS focused to also be incorporative of those from social care.
Yeah.
I think the audience in social care want things like short videos, bite-sized information. They're always on the go. So actually having that really helps them update some really headlines, because the honest truth is a lot of social care providers or staff aren't going to have the time to read through lumps of legislation and not very wordy. So videos, bite-sized sort of information, updates, and also as well, the way that you engage is they like to respond to maybe if a question is posed, communities and forums, and like as you see here, you get people who actually raise points and questions. If you give the surveys and there's 101 questions asking left, right of inside leg measurements, it's very difficult. So actually understanding the sector is what we find a lot of the time, a lot of the staff and providers find they struggle with. So I think you have a place there at the moment where there isn't really a platform which gives that sort of very intuitive, but sort of things that more initiative that works with sort of social care. So So probably thinking about actually maybe tailoring some parts of your questionnaires so it's focused on sort of like this sector as opposed to general.
It's really helpful, thank you. I'm aware that your meeting finished a minute ago, so thank you so much for
It's no
letting
problem.
me
They always
come.
run on.
Oh, yeah, I'm really grateful. I've got a link to a Microsoft Forms which just says the same question, so I'll pop that in the chat now. So if anybody has any ideas or any thoughts at a later date and they want to just make sure it gets back into NICE, you can just put any information in the form and it will come straight through to us.
Okay.
But I'm really, really grateful for your time. Thank you very much for letting me come.
No problem. Thanks, Jade. And we will circulate that again anyway. And hopefully you do get some responses. And I think Dudley's made a very good point in, we have raised this point a number of times. And we've also raised it with CQC. For example, there was a tender recently. The NHS put out a tender, an AQP tender for social care, and they insisted all the way through on referring to the people being treated as patients. And we pass this on to CQC, who are hopping up and down, because if social care organisations called the clients patients, CQC would not be happy at all. And it is getting better, but it is taking an awful lot of work. And maybe, you know, the single framework from CQC will make some impact on that. But when the impact of, say, NICE on medication, most of the people that are, you know, clients or service users of social care providers are on medication, and administration of that medication is incredibly important. And, you know, as John Butler said with training, that's a real key area for training. It's a real key area for that staff can make mistakes, and those mistakes can have, you know, serious consequences.
Indeed, I think it's really important. I think it's going forward, as we know, the changes with the single frame sort of network, that's assessment framework that's going to be happening. I think it's really for everyone to sort of like think about everything as a whole, but also utilize a lot of the wonderful tools and free training that's available as well, because that's also something that you can share with your staff, as well as really help yourselves as well with your knowledge. And so there is a lot of there, and I know NICE do a lot of things as well, and have done in the past. So please do utilize sort of a lot of the resources that are available in itself.
And just the last off, if you ever want me to come back to this forum and show you how to find things on the NICE website, where the social care things are hidden, because our website is really user friendly, I'm more than happy to come back at another time and do that with you. Thank you.
That has been one of your colleagues actually said, if you want to find something on the NICE website, use Google.
It is ridiculous. We're meant to be changing our website next year, so maybe this time next year I won't have to make the offer anymore. You never know. But currently we have what we have. So
Exactly. I've put details of the next meeting in the chat, which is about CQC compliance and using software to achieve that. I've also put details of our first meeting about international recruitment, which is on January the 9th, I think it is, which is a project that Lcas is running for North Central London, South East London and South West London. There have already been 2 meetings of that, and the slides and the recordings, presentations are on the Lcas website. If you can't find stuff, give me a call. If you want information, contact Dudley or myself. And if there are any other questions, please fire away. Otherwise, best wishes for the festive season. We look forward to seeing you in the new year. Thank you all for coming. Thank you to the presenters. Sorry we had a few technical problems. The slides will be on the website very shortly, and the presentation a little after that, when Dudley's had a few moments to actually put it together. And the forum is open. Anything else?
Yeah, also as well, I know people are going to be dashing off, so apart from wishing everyone well, because we know not everyone gets this time off during the Christmas period, do think about your workforce, flexible working, the mental health and well-being of your staff as well, especially for dom care providers, staff. It can be a lonely time, so actually think about how you can incorporate helping staff to come together during this period as well, to support them And also for next year, there's a lot that's going to be happening. So if you do want us to sort of touch or raise any points or speak to any individuals, as we speak to the likes of we work with Skills for Care, we speak to CQC, we've been speaking to the Home Office, so we do try our best to actually voice a lot of what you're thinking. So please don't be shy. Let us know and be in touch, and we will do our best to try and facilitate things. And with all the changes going on next year, we'll try and keep you as much as up to date as we can.
And just to build on that, do actually call Dudley and myself. I know we're busy, but we can always find a few minutes if you want to chat about something you're not sure about. Ditto with Ali, and also with training. You know, talk to John Butler, his partner, or his colleagues at the office. They've been doing it for many years, and they're quite happy to tell you what you're doing wrong and how you can get it right. And you can get it right for free, pretty much. So there's lots and lots of advice out there. And again, with CQC, we can get CQC back. They're happy to come, but you do need to talk to them.
Yeah, I think Ali's made a point. I think the other thing as well, we obviously run a WhatsApp group as well, but you're as helpful as anyone else. You are knowledgeable. So actually sharing not just Peter, my knowledge, or Ali's knowledge, it's also yourselves who have a lot of knowledge of your experiences, because your experiences help others in the group. Let's not utilize the amount of wonderful experience here, who can actually share maybe what they've gone through and maybe things they've done to get it right. So also please do use the forums, the WhatsApp groups, and email Peter and I of maybe suggestions as well. It's always wonderful to see success stories. So we also like to push the good things happening across social care and all the things that we do as well.
And if you want to join any of the WhatsApp groups, all we need is your name, obviously, your mobile number, and the boroughs that you work in. And then we'll put you in the right WhatsApp group. So if you drop that on an email or text to either Dudley or myself, we'll sort it out and go from there. And again, the WhatsApp group is something that you can use to pick up other managers, colleagues in the area who may have already sorted out a similar problem. So use those good people. Okay, any more points for anybody? If not, as I say, have a good festive season, and we look forward to seeing you in the new year. Thanks very much for your time.
Thank you.
Coming. All the best.
Bye-bye. Thank you. Thanks.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.